Hey, guys, welcome to my channel. Today I will recap a movie called Nightcrawler, which was released in 2014. So let's get into it without further delay. So sit back and enjoy this amazing crime thriller. The movie opens with the nighttime when a man named Louis is trying to steal the iron barriers at a rail yard. Before he could complete his task, a police officer comes there and asks Louis what is he doing. Louis tries to save himself by saying that he is just lost, but the officer says that it is a restricted area and there are boards everywhere to give a warning. The officer then forces Louis to show his ID, but when Louis goes to give his ID to the officer, he attacks the cop, knocking him out and running away from there after stealing the cop's watch. He goes to a scrapyard where he sells the materials he had stole, and after arguing over the price with the owner, he sells his things at a lower place because he has no place where he can sell these things. After selling his things, Louis asks the owner of the place for a job and says that he is a very hard worker and previously worked at different places, so he will be good for any job. He tells the owner that he is also willing to do an internship, but the man coldly rejects him, saying that he doesn't hire thieves at his work. Louis is going back in his car when he sees a car crash and stops to what is happening there. While police are trying to pull the victim out of the car, Louis sees a man named Joe reaching there and hurriedly recording their accident. When Joe comes back toward his car, Louis is waiting for him and asks him if this footage will be on the TV. Joe tells him that it will be morning news because of the footage, and when Louis asks which channel will broadcast this, Joe replies that he will sell the footage to whoever pays the most. While talking to Louis, Joe opens his van's door and Louis is surprised to see all the equipment inside the vehicle. When Joe tells him that he got all this from recording the accident, Louis is impressed and asks if he is currently hiring, but Joe answers no. Joe then gets in the car and Louis watches him speeding away after listening to another accident news on the police radio. The next morning, Louis is watching television in his home when he stumbles upon the news of the last night's accident as they show the footage Joe had recorded. He later goes out to the park where he steals a bicycle and sells it for $800 at a shop. He then uses this money to buy a police scanner and a camcorder for himself and starts going to the accident scenes to record footage. He hears news about a fight at first and goes there to record it, but the officers don't let him near the crime scene. He goes to different crime scenes but has no success in recording a video because every time the officers keep sending him away. He reaches another scene after hearing about it on the police scanner and successfully records close footage of an injured man that police are trying to revive. He is thrown away from there too with another journalist who was trying to get footage, who curses Louis for ruining his chance to record anything. Louis goes to a news channel, KWLA, where he meets the news director called Nina. She refuses to look at his footage and asks him to go out to the producer Frank. He is going out when she calls him and asks him what footage he has. Louis tells her that he has the footage of an accident where a man was shot during a carjacking accident. Nina says at first that they are getting this footage from someone named Ace, but when he says that he has closer footage, she agrees to see his recording. After seeing his footage, she calls the producer Frank and shows him the footage. Nina is happy with the footage and says to Frank that it is a lead and she wants to break it. Frank is reluctant to show the footage, saying that it is too graphics, but Nina is determined to show it on the news. Nina then pays Louis $250 for the footage and asks him to buy better equipment and a directional mic. She tells him that he has a good eye for the scene and he should try to get clear footage next time and make sure to call them first. Nina tells him to find the crimes that can get more views, like some well of the person getting attacked by a minority or any fatal car or bus accident. The next morning, Louis is watching the news at his home and is happy to see his recording playing on the channel. He then stores his video in a document and searches the internet for all the police codes in Los Angeles to memorize them. He then goes to a cafe where he meets a student named Rick and introduces himself as someone who runs a successful TV news business. After a short interview, he tells Rick that he is hired as an intern. Rick says that he needs money, so after some discussion, Louis agrees to pay him $30 per night. Later they are sitting in Louis' car as he tells Rick about all the police codes. After waiting all day in the car, they finally hear the news about an accident and rush toward the scene as Rick guides Louis through GPS, but he messes up the direction and they reach the scene when police had already left with the victims. Louis gets angry at Rick and tells him to communicate effectively so they can build a strong team. They are still talking when they hear the news about a house shooting and rush toward the scene. At the scene, Louis notices the house's door open as the victims are talking to the police, and he sneaks inside the house and records a closer footage of everything. When he takes the footage to Nina, she is happy with the close shots, while Frank says that it looks like Louis broke into the house, but Nina says that they are running the footage either way. As Frank goes away, Louis praises Nina for the way she handles her co-workers. In the coming days, Louis's list of the crimes he recorded starts to grow, and he even tampers with the crime scene to get a better angle, which as a result earns him good money, and he buys better equipment and a new car for himself. On the scene of an accident, he reaches before the police could arrive and moves the injured body to a better lighting place. When he goes to Nina after recording that scene, she notices the blood on his clothes, but he ignores her question and asks her to go to lunch with him. Nina refuses his offer, saying that she doesn't go out with the people she works with and he is way younger than her, but Louis indicates that she can be messing up the working relationship by refusing his offer and leaves the office. The next day he is approached by Joe, who offers him to work together, but Louis refuses his offer. Later he goes out to a restaurant with Nina where they talk about work for a while, and then Louis tells her that he wants a physical relationship with someone he works with. Nina tells him that she just came to dinner with him out of courtesy and doesn't want to do anything else with him. Louis replies that he single-handedly raised the unit price of their rating books and threatens to cut business with her if she doesn't accept his offer. He points out that Nina left her every job after 2 years and her time on this channel is almost complete, so she needs him for her work. It is implied that after being threatened, Nina reluctantly agrees with his offer. The next night, Rick and Louis are sitting in his car when they hear news about a fatal accident. Rick says that they are very far from the scene, but Louis points out that they are calling for heavy rescue, which means the accident is big, so they need to go there. He drives at the high speed and they reach the scene to find that it was a plane crash, but they are late as the ambulance already left. Joe is at the scene and mocks Louis, saying that he has different teams that can reach any crime scene within minutes, so Louis doesn't have any chance against him and it was his big mistake to reject his offer. Louis ignores Joe and silently leaves the scene. He goes to the station with the footage of another accident. But Nina gets angry, saying that they need the footage of the plane accident, and says to Louis that she wants him to provide her with a good break as he promised. Louis is frustrated by this and also angry at Joe for making fun of him, so sabotages Joe's van. When Joe gets into a fatal accident, Louis records his close footage despite Rick's protest that they shouldn't record someone who works in the same field as them. Later Lou and Rick arrive at the scene of a triple murder in Granda Hills. Lou captures footage of the gunman driving off in an SUV and footage of the victim inside, later cutting up footage of the assailant and presenting it to the news station. The news staff is racking its brains over the ethics of footage, but Nina wants to get the story out. In return, Lou demands public loans and more money. Police detective Frontieri shows up at Lou's apartment and questions him about his connection to the home invasion. He gives her edited footage of the incident and cuts out the gunman's part. That night, Lou and Rick track the driver home and stake out the house until he picks up his partner. Lou follows them to a crowded public place and calls the police and records the ensuing confrontation. A troubled Rick demands half of the money Lou has to make and threatens to tell the police about Lou withholding evidence. Lou agrees. When the gunman stops by the restaurant, Lou calls the police and warns them that the suspect is armed. The police arrive and exchange shots with the criminals. A police officer is shot, one of his killers is shot dead, and another of him can escape in his SUV. The police chase the criminal with Lou and Rick and tailing them down and recording everything, leading to a lengthy multiple car crash. After the shooter's SUV crashes, Lou approaches the car and claims the shooter is dead, prompting Rick to record him. It is revealed the criminal was alive as he shoots Rick, and as Rick is dying, Lou films him and tells him he cannot work with someone who has successfully blackmailed him for withholding evidence. Nina is impressed by the chase footage and expresses her devotion to her Lou. The news team discovered that the home invasion was actually caused by criminals who broke in to steal the cocaine that the homeowner had hidden. Nina refuses to report this information in order to maximize the story's impact. Police attempt to seize Lou's footage as evidence, but Nina defends her right to withhold it. She will broadcast soon. Lou volunteers to speak to Detective Frontieri. While being interrogated by Frontieri, Lou fabricates a story about a man in an SUV following him. Frontieri knows he's lying, but she can't prove it. Lou later hires a team of interns to expand his business, saying that he will not ask them to do anything he is not willing to do himself. Thanks for watching the recap. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video so you don't miss any content from us. Stay tuned for more thrilling and amazing movies. See you soon. Bye.